Welcome to Biggest Geekest. We are your hosts. I am Joe.
I'm Randy.
This is episode 150 of our show, and the date is Tuesday, August 1st, 2023. May have said that too fast. Episode 150.
150, baby.
Later in the episode, we will be giving away a ticket to Big Geek Con.
Right on. Yeah, baby. That's getting closer.
$30 value.
Yep. A little over a month away. Cannot wait. It's going to be cool. We were talking offline about it. Joe and I got big plans. Plans within plans.
Plans within plans.
Yep. So I'm back home. Got home last night from...
You look like you're in a new room again.
I've been shifted. Things have been moved around. Floors have been built. Furniture has been moved. So I think I'm in good shape. I think the internet's pretty good here. Should be coming in pretty strong. So
good deal.
Anyway, busy week, good week. Mowed grass today. Wore out. What about you?
Well, I've been riding my bike to work for about a week now.
Oh boy!
And even after we get our car fixed, I'm probably going to continue on any day that is good to do. I'll ride the bike in.
There you go.
Because it's not that much slower than driving, really. Where I work at is close, and because the bike, I can kind of finagle the stop signs and all that. So it's only like 6 minutes to get to work on the bike.
Cool.
So
did you get any gaming in this week?
And technically get there in 2 minutes if I don't pay attention to any stop signs or traffic lights in the car.
Oh,
that's kind of dangerous. So
right. Oh, look, our boy Patrick calling it out. Since 'twas the night before Gen Con and all through the house, Patrick is stirring and probably not getting to sleep tonight. Yeah, he gets really pumped or something, but it's different being a guy who, business guy, has a booth there. And so anyway, so that's the case. L. Is that L? The famous L? Do plans include paying people owed money from BGE or are creators being defrauded? I don't think creators are being defrauded.
No.
That sounds like an illusion.
We've had some issues, but they are all being dealt with.
Yeah, trust us. We don't make enough money to even consider the possibility of doing illegal stuff. I'm not sure if we make any money hardly at all. So
no.
Yeah, so that's not a thing. That's somebody maybe making up stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, did you get the game this week at all?
No,
nothing.
I am not. I did not.
Gotcha.
No gaming for me.
Roger. Yeah, we looks like we got Flady in the house and Ryan David and Martinson over on Rumble. It's looking like violence solves everything. At least he stopped in for a second to say hello. Okay, he said there was somebody from a creator leaving BGE.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, somebody's mad about something. I don't know. Joe's on top of it. It is what it is. I don't think we're trying to screw anybody. So, so that's a lot of clickbait. That's crybaby stuff. So somebody's whining about something that ain't real.
So what I will say is there was a bit of an interface issue, and I didn't see certain things.
Mm-hmm.
It's been fixed. People are getting their money.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's no nefarious stuff going on. Joe and I don't.
No.
We don't roll like that.
No.
So,
it's like I told everybody when I first started it.
Yep.
There might be hiccups. There might be delays. There might be issues, but everybody will get their money.
Sure.
And there's not that much to give out. So
we're not keeping it all. Trust us. That is not what's happening. Oh, man. So heard anything cool in the hobby? I know I'm trying to think of this lady's name. I can't think of her name. I don't know. I like to listen to her YouTube channel some. She's pretty friendly, but she's kind of way left of us, but she's not horrible about that. But she mentioned there was an issue about gosh, what was it? There was an issue about WotC and some people using AI art and AI stuff to make RPG. She was I thought she was ringing the, danger bells, and I don't know, something about how Kickstarter recently put something out on their AI rules they had, and so did drive through. But I don't know.
Yeah, I saw something about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyway,
Hanlon's razor. Never heard of that razor.
It's a new one.
Anyway,
might be.
Yeah,
Maybe it's like Occam's razor, perhaps. Maybe it's connected. I probably should know it.
I didn't look into it, but I know that there was some kind of grumblings about drive-through again this week.
Hanlon's razor is a philosophical razor that suggests a way of eliminating unlikely explanations for human behavior. Oh, unlikely. Okay. There you go. Right on, L. That's cool. Yeah.
Oh, this one. I am familiar with this one. Don't attribute to malice that which can be explained by ignorance. Or what's the other? Not ignorance. Ignorance isn't the right word. Incompetence. That's the one I've heard.
Yeah. I thought that was. I don't remember. They all run together. I'm too old.
Don't attribute to malice that which can be explained by incompetence.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Not ignorance. I mean, that might be one too, but
yeah, it's all relative. Yeah. So, and Joe and I, we're not. And Joe's worked his butt off, but he's by no means the expert of online gaming business. So, yeah, if we make mistakes, it's never. I mean, we're not perfect, but my plan is not to defraud anybody. That's a crazy town.
Mm-mm.
As soon as
no,
yeah. So. Anyway, so let's talk about some. We'll talk about some gods. You ready to jump right into it, or you got some other stuff you want to talk about?
I think let's go right in. So, deities in your campaign. So this was your topic.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're going to be talking about what to do with deities.
Yeah. So
pantheons are monotheistic is what you have up first.
That was my first idea. I was thinking, when you run a campaign, now most D&D worlds are all going to run. Oh, thanks, Al. Occam's is the simplest explanation. Okay, got it. I knew it was one of those things. But anyway, and I guess I've always toyed with the idea of a monotheistic campaign. I've had campaigns where one deity was by far prominent, but they're almost all pantheons, right? There's some variety of gods with, a mixed bunch of gods. They might be certain groups, like the Norse pantheon. That's how we used to do back in the day. We had all the gods in the mix. Every god you can imagine was fair game in my campaign. So,
right,
do you think
more or less involved in the world?
Do you think for fantasy games, there's a place for a monotheistic deity setting, and would you find that interesting, or do you prefer pantheonic? I guess is the word.
Most of the time, I don't even think about it unless I play a cleric. Yeah. So, as a player, I don't think it would be a big deal. It would change somewhat the way the tone of the setting is, because you expect there to be temples and shrines and whatnot to multiple deities when you're playing these kinds of games. But just having one, I mean, I think we've done it a couple times.
I've toyed with it, but I've never got very far with it. I had this group that made it to a couple of campaigns, a group of religious folks that were called the Seekers of the Light, and they thought their God was the only one. So they were not good dudes by any stretch of the imagination. David Will makes a good point. He says, even in a monotheistic game, you could just give the god access to a bunch of domains, let you pick whatever, don't change a whole lot mechanically. Sure. You could argue there is no domains, and all of the spells that clerics would be granted would be wide open anyway. So, but
right.
I think pantheistic is the most common way to see a D&D, at least a published world. Almost all exist in D&D. I don't know of a setting except maybe Midnight where the bad god won. So that would be monotheistic. I don't have a preference as far as if I was a player, I wouldn't really care.
Well, we ran 13th Age for a long time,
Uh-huh.
and the gods are kind of not a thing.
Uh-huh.
So, you must have your laptop set up on a rickety table
Oh, you seen it move all the time?
while you're typing.
What I've got it on is a new stand. My wife ordered me a stand, so yeah, maybe that's not as good as I thought.
That, or you just jab your
That's
key.
very possible, because even when I teach, I use markers, and I can even push. When I write on the board, I even smash markers. I write really hard. So, hey, Mercer Core, what's up, bro? Thank you for welcoming back. Had a great vacation. He and I are going to do a little night action soon.
Oh.
But anyway, you know, my character's coming back. So, do you have a preference if you're a player, so you don't care really?
If not really, I think having a pantheon or a mono can be interesting, because you have different ones, and you can have different temples and whatnot. But the thing is, a lot of pantheistic religions are not. If you have a pantheon of gods, it is a singular religion. It's not like you have a bunch of different religions. You just have a religion that has many gods. Typically, in any real world pantheistic religion, it's not a set of religions; it's a religion, even if it has multiple gods. Yeah. So, having a pantheon in your game doesn't mean you must have different religions. So you still could, especially if there's regional pantheons or warring pantheons.
Right. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think Iron Man and even L made a comment. I won't put them up here. That even if you had technically had a polytheistic. Did I wrote pantheistic? What am I doing?
Polytheistic is probably the correct word.
Yeah, I wrote pantheon. Yeah, that sounds right. Polytheistic world. You might have, different religions in the world, and in a certain place, like it is even in our world, like Iron Man or L said, maybe Ares is worshipped in one land, and maybe Zeus is worshipped in the other, and maybe exclusively, maybe it's the state religion, all others are banned. So you could have the monotheistic vibe without really going with monotheistic. That would be pretty
if you make
cool.
It regional.
Yes. So that's not a bad. I think that'd be. I love thinking about deities, especially if I was building a world. This is one of the reasons that I kind of picked this topic. And I know a lot of people don't do that, but I do think very deeply about the gods and how they're going to affect things. But I guess I have more fun with multiple gods, but I also don't want, forgotten realms where there's 68,000 deities. But I mean, to each their own. And in the real world, there's been a lot. So speaking of that, what do you think of using the real world religions in your game? I know we did it some, people that worship Norse gods, I guess, technically, and Hindu deities and stuff like that.
I'm fine with mythological, real world mythologies. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Because it's fun. The Norse gods and the always get these, the Greek pantheon and the Roman pantheon, pre-Christian Roman pantheon. But yeah, those are all fun because we know them. We know them fairly well.
We know their mythology.
Especially the more Western ones. The Eastern mythologies, I'm not as familiar with.
Okay, yeah.
Or the African ones.
But what about Christianity? No. You wouldn't like that to be a part of a game?
Wouldn't like what?
Christianity. What about if you took
I'd rather not.
Yeah, me too, because I'm a believer, so that's kind of part of it. It just feels a little sacrilegious. But others could say the same thing. But you know what? If someone else uses Christianity in their game, it doesn't bother me. I just would rather not do it. But I do like the idea. When I'm running monotheistic, I kind of would think of it in a quasi-Christian way. So if I built a singular deity, he would probably share some qualities with God if he's going to be the good guy.
It's hard not to.
Yes.
Considering.
Correct. Um, Arn Man made a good comment. He says he thinks it's weird that a character is supposed to pick a single god in a polytheistic setting to be a follower of all. All the gods would be real and lord over different aspects of a character's life. Yeah, I think that's the thing. I mean, it wasn't uncommon, I think, in the ancient Greece, for people to give prayers to certain gods whenever they're about to do anything. If someone's about to get married, they might pray to, I guess, Aphrodite. If they're about to go to war, they might pray to Artemis, that sort of stuff. So yeah.
Right. So yeah, I'm okay with really whatever God set up a DM wants to have.
Yeah.
It usually doesn't impact the characters that I choose. Although, mainly because most DMs don't really flesh out religions.
No.
You're basically running around killing monsters, going to town to buy stuff or sell stuff, maybe start a guild or or your own tavern, or set up a wizard tower or something like that. But the cultural aspects of a religion in a game world are usually really minor in most games that I've played in.
And I think
they're just mentioned usually.
It is, but I do think it's rife with good questable ideas. It's rife with any political intrigue you want. It's rife with trying to sell the differences in your world versus others. I think there's lots to mine there that people often don't. A lot of DMs just say, "Oh yeah, they're good. They do good stuff. You can get healed with this temple, move on." And I do it too. It's easier, but I mean,
heck, they're like just another NPC.
Sure. I think and people make some NPCs very interesting. You know, quirky fighter or a strange little halfling dude, and I think you could do the same thing with clerics. Yeah, I think I would absolutely. Well, like I said, I always try to make the religion somewhat interesting, but it's hard to find that time to really delve into creating your own. Yeah. Speaking of that, creating your own, that's a chore, right? Like if we were doing Mud Sword and we were talking about our setting, and I wanted to work on the gods, you wanted a real limited kind of. How did you say it? How did you want the gods to interact in the setting we were working on?
Well, they were kind of like gone.
Okay.
They had avatars. The avatars died, and then I guess the way I had it set up is that there was one left, and in my head, I don't know if I wrote it down, but in my head, I imagined the players perhaps being able to become avatars. So slowly over time, the certain deities might reappear through avatars.
Sure. Okay. Gotcha, Gwill. He says weekly request. I know. I got to get on that adventure drive. I've got to get it done. It was too much. I mean, I'm probably going to be whooped tomorrow, but too, because I mowed grass for 4.5, 5 hours today, and I just didn't quite get a breather that I needed. Oh man, dude, I slept until like 11 today. So tired. It's stupid. And
wow.
I'm still tired. Still tired. Dude, I was up to like 3 and 4 in the morning, averaged about 1 or 2 while I was gone every single day.
Oh, yeah. It's like Cabin Con.
Dude, 56, dude, is not a thing. Yeah, David Gwill is asking, when is Big Geek Con happening? That would be September 22nd and 23rd. Very soon. I got to get on top of that too, so I got to quit screwing around. But with creating your deities, back to the actual topic, I don't think you always have. I like the idea of them being gone that you did. I guess I can't imagine a world that if they ever had deities, their imprint would be on the world. There would be things there that could not be. It would be very hard to completely get rid of all deific imprints in the world. You know, there'd be cults, there'd be followers, there'd be things.
There could be, sure.
I think it's hard. Now you could always just choose. You know,
well, it's post-apocalyptic in a fantasy setting, so that's why there would be a lot of stuff wiped out. You could still find it. There'd be ruins, but buried temples and things like that. So it was actually in my head. I thought it was, instead of trying to create that part, just have remnants, and then maybe over time create that instead of try to do it whole cloth.
Right. And I've done
So,
both. I've done
yeah.
both too. I've done whole cloth, which is always such a chore, but I have to admit that if I had it up front, well, if I did that, I almost always wanted the adventures to center around some religious related things. A couple of our commenters, some good comments recently. Flady said a little bit back, said, I've only messed with using serious religious overtones a few times. Not really good at it unless I do a deep dive in them in a particular culture. And I thought Iron Man's response was really good. And this is interesting. At Flady, you need the players to care about it as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to spend time.
There's not a whole lot of.
Yeah. I mean, if the cleric is like, we just go to the temple, Randy, to get healed, we don't really care what they're doing and what sort of rituals they're doing. I mean, assuming you have heroic characters and short of them murdering people and, sacrificing children to their deity, if they're just being normal, singing songs and going all the time, like, who cares?
Right.
Okay, can you heal me? Yeah. Here's 50 gold. Thanks. See ya. We're out. I mean, that's true.
I think in this vein, less is more. So they're there.
Can be. Mm-hmm.
And then you can have the trappings, and then if the players grab onto it, you can make more. Yeah. You don't necessarily need to make everything all up at once.
And you might get a hint if two of your players play clerics.
Right.
They may be interested in delving, but then again, they may not. They may just want the power of the priest and say, look at us go do cool stuff. So who knows? If you're playing the Forgotten Realms or Greyhawk or something, do you prefer to just use their deities or go in there and muck around with them?
Well, it's easier just to use stuff that's already set up.
Definitely easier, no doubt.
And still, when I was saying that game worlds don't integrate religions very well, even the Forgotten Realms, when you read the books, I mean, they're mentioned, and there's a temple over there.
Mm-hmm.
And even in Greyhawk, there's usually the deities' servants or the deities' like chosen ones that you deal with. You don't deal with them a lot.
No, that would be a weird campaign if the gods were all. I've always wondered though, how interesting would it be if the gods made appearances, if they sent super powerful avatars to the earth to literally, like I feel like there was a version of D&D where they said that 7th level spells or the highest level cleric spells would be bestowed by the god's avatar. Is that a thing?
Well,
am I remembering something like that? I thought, so an angel's going to come down and tell you a spell? That's weird.
There's been different write-ups on that. Mm-hmm. So clerics, I don't think the initial write-up of the cleric said specifically that when the cleric prays, that where they precisely come from. So it all depends on which version of the cleric you're talking about. I'm pretty sure I remember one write-up saying that the low-level spells might come from, maybe it was from Planescape, come from the lower-level servants of the lower echelon servants, like angels or whatever, divas.
Sure.
They're the ones who pass out the low-level spells. And then when they get to like 7th, 8th, 9th level spells, those come from, head cheese.
It was probably a 3rd edition thing that I'm remembering because that got a little crazy. I started a couple of comments. Let's see here. Iron Man. I kind of like the Conan stories approach where there are a handful of major gods and you encounter weird unknown gods and their minions and adventurers, the bad guys. The Pantheon has a lot of unknowns. That's not a bad way to do it. And I do agree with Ryan David here. This is more of the power level of the gods. The deity would not want nothing to do with even a mid to high level adventure. They would be peons. Yeah, I really prefer, if we want to use deities, they don't get stats like player characters. That's where deities and demigods, in my opinion, went wrong. If you stat up a creature, some players, my players, just wanted to kill them.
He has stats. He can die.
He can die. What if we could beat Thor? I think we could beat Thor. We're 27th level.
The way they made up some of them deities in there, they were kind of weak.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Loth. Not, I don't know if she was in Deities and Demigods. I can't remember, but I mean,
Our man who plays AD&D says AD&D required getting 3rd level and up to 6th, I think, from a god's underling and higher level from the god itself. I always ignored that. Yeah, I did too. I just didn't. Yeah, L's got it. If it has stats, we can kill it. Yeah, true. Yeah, that's not something that I ever worried about. It's just not my kind of thing. Go ahead.
We had discussions about this particular thing back in the day, and we all thought it was kind of ridiculous that every cleric's spells came directly after, I'm praying for my spells, and the god's like, I guess I got to give you your spells today. I mean,
yeah,
every cleric on the planet at the same time.
I know, it's so weird.
Imagine if all the clerics, because they have to pray. There's some clerics often have a particular thing they have to do in the to get their spells, like pray first thing in the morning, right, or whatever particular time of day. So when that particular time of day or event happens, all the clerics on the planet are all praying at the same time. It's a God, and maybe it's got higher processing power.
Sure,
but I get that, but still.
Yeah. Oh, Flady's got a good. I'll go off on this at a tangent. He says, I think he's nodding back to last week. I can see a wish spell being directed from a god. I can too. I didn't mean to hit that. No, it might have been a good comment. Sorry. Dang, they keep commenting too fast. Can't even shut them down. Good job, guys. It would be an interesting adventure if a god granted a cleric a spell, especially to accomplish something. Here's a unique spell that I'm giving you because you've been so good.
Yeah.
And plus you need to do this, and give them a spell kind of outside, someone you make up for something awesome. So
I think it's probably a little more, I don't know, realistic isn't the right word.
Right.
For when a cleric initially gets their training, they're qualified they're on their path, and they get spells because that's their class. Like a wizard learns how to do magic. Clerics learn how to access their magic as well.
And maybe they just focus through their faith. Their faith lets them access it. It's not literally the God saying, yep, nope, yep, nope. But the God would be like, you're acting like a bonehead. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut you off from that source. I mean, I could see that if you want to like make a cleric suffer for doing something, a lawful good priest turns around and murders somebody, or that's extreme, or say he extorts somebody supposedly for the right reason, and his God is very pure. He might like, you know what, you can't cast spells for a month until you do something to rectify that situation.
I considered having access to rather than bestowed every day.
Correct.
Individually, they have access to their powers.
Yeah, I think I used to be very much against the priestly type spell book, but since I've been playing, I don't know if that's in Hyperborea or not. Something got me thinking about scriptures that would teach you spells. I agree with David Gwill here. He says he never thought of clerics as being trained but chosen. Yes, I think chosen due to their faithfulness, but I don't know if the God is literally just passing out. There's one for you, 1, 2, 3 for you, 6, 7, 8, 15 spells for you every day. Or not that I don't think he could. I think it'd be more like access to the divine. You have it. And the God would notice, like maybe Winston Payne, if you accessed the power and used it for something he was very much against.
I think being chosen is fine.
Yeah.
But you still probably need training, because just because you're recognized as someone with faith doesn't mean you know anything.
Correct.
And a cleric's got to know stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think he should. I guess you could argue there could be what were the ones in 3rd edition? The priest.
It would seriously be weird if you just had some ignoramus running around saying, hey, I'm a chosen of whoever, and maybe they're even illiterate.
Well, it would be weird. Doesn't mean he couldn't be a one-off and a one of a kind.
Yeah.
He could be a special, very much chosen to teach maybe it's like he needs to teach his order some humility. You know what I'm saying? So that could be interesting. Gold Moon does not prove Joe wrong. Gold Moon.
Nothing from Dragonlance can prove me wrong.
That's not possible. But I mean, you could have that. There's nothing wrong with that. But it is. I agree with Joe. It's strange. I don't think I have a bunch of priests that are just a bunch of idiot savants. That'd be weird. Oh no, that could be fun. Have a religion where you have to be an idiot savant to be a priest. Legions in the house. Lurk away, my good man. What's Quill saying?
I think of it more like the especially devout priests are the ones that tend to get chosen.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm going to be a bit of a nitpicker here. You have to know something to be devout. How can you be devout to a god and not know anything about them?
Correct.
Hey, there's the god. Oh, yeah, I'm devout. Well, what do you mean?
You could have an experience.
Do you have to know their tenets to be devout?
What if you have an experience with a deity? They save you, help you in some manner, and you recognize them as quote unquote the god to follow. And so you just do, and you put your faith utterly in them.
Sure, but you still have to know something.
You would eventually probably learn things you couldn't help it.
Yeah, because you can't go out in the world and spread his message, if he has one, without knowing what that is. And then it would be difficult for you to do any spreading of the message if you were an ignoramus. I don't even think the example of Gold Moon, she didn't spread any sort of message, did she?
I don't know. Elle saying something.
She was chosen, and then she was a cleric and all that.
Blue crystal staff provided her ability without knowledge, any faith. When it was broken, only then did she attain knowledge. Okay. I mean, I don't know Dragonlance that well.
Yeah, whatever. That's very shallow.
Yeah.
Faith without knowing anything. If you don't know anything about your God at all, hey, I'm a God. Okay, I have faith in you. That's stupid.
Agreed. David Will says, put another way, I agree there's a measure of training involved, but I don't think clerics can just train and get cleric spells. Agreed.
Correct.
I think they are special in that they're chosen for the cleric class, a priest class, whatever you want to call it, a Templar class. So they're chosen because of multiple facets of abilities that they have, faith being the number one. Right? So let's see.
Yes, Moses was totally ignorant of everything. Whatever.
He was not.
Well, you don't really, you should learn something before you type on your computer.
Yeah.
Now, the Jews that he tried to wrangle, they were like, herding cats, and at the drop of a hat, anything was making them lose their faith.
And Moses
he knew a lot. He went up on the mountain for 40 and spent 40 years in the presence of God. Yeah. He didn't learn anything.
Yep.
I think that's stupid.
Facts. He did. Yeah, I think you're hard pressed to be. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to go down the Christianity path and Judaism, but they are kind of the examples people use. I played a game a week and a half ago with my cousins at reunion. I talked about it, and the one playing the cleric, because he'd never played before. He's like, I prayed to my God and said, "Praise God." He rolls his dice. He didn't know anything about D&D style religions, but he thought he worshipped God, so that's what he did. And I mean that's okay. I mean, it's not a big deal for me.
I will go one more, and I will go with the apostles, because sure, they followed him, they followed Christ by him just saying, "Hey, come follow me." And they said, "Yeah, okay." Yeah, then they traveled around with him. They their faith grew, but he didn't send them out until they learned things.
Right.
So the apostles didn't just go out ignorant. They went out knowing what to do.
Yeah, for sure. What about using no deities in your game? What would you think about that? Absolutely none. There isn't any. It's not a thing.
I think it's still doable. Clerics would be weird to explain, but
well, you can fix that. Just put all the cleric spells that are needed, like healing, or all the cleric spells. Put them as wizard spells. We've talked about it. Paul didn't what? Paul was already a PhD, Josh.
You really need to read your Bible, fella.
He was a Pharisee. He was the Pharisee of Pharisees.
Pharisees.
Paul was the king of knowledge. He knew the Old Testament inside and out.
His only thing was not, at the time, not believing Christ was the Messiah. Once he was brought on board, he was, whatever.
That's all right. Don't get mad, Joe. These people are younglings in the
I'm
world.
not going to fault. I don't fault people for being ignorant, but I do fault people for acting like they're not. So,
Right. What's up, Doug and Bradley? Dark Sun and Dragonlance had no gods. Yes, they did. So what do you think of that? Is that a cool setting? I didn't like Dragonlance as much, only because I thought they told the coolest story and I wasn't sure how to run anything. But Dark Sun was neat.
Dark Sun was neat. You can do D&D without gods.
Oh yeah, you can.
You don't. They're not necessary for you to run a game. Clerics are hard to run. Okay, not having clerics makes the adventuring experience a little more challenging.
Yes.
So if you had a healer that wasn't based in a deity, then that you can fill that niche. That would be fine. But you don't necessarily need it.
Nope. Patty at Patty's Parlor stops by to say hello. He is on Rumble, and he said he's passing through. He's on his way home, so trying to pick us up where he can. Yes, David Gwill. In the Dark Sun, they were elemental themes somehow. I'm not the expert. Let someone else answer it.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Joe and I were into Dark Sun for a hot minute, and that was about it. So,
and okay, I am very ignorant about a lot of settings.
Correct.
But
yeah, he's totally
the
ignorant.
Towers of High Sorcery and Dragonlance had the White Tower, right?
And the red and the black, right?
Right. The White Tower had healing spells, if I remember correctly.
Correct. Well, there were no gods initially in Dragonlance. That was right. Because they couldn't heal or nothing. I guess the wizards had to. Rejoice is back, packing for Gen Con. Do it, girl. Do your thing. She's listening, packing for Gen Con. I always get I have to admit, I get a little jealous every year. And then I realize Gen Con is not where I belong, pretty much ever. But I do.
An element times. You feel like you might be missing out on something because it's a gaming mecca.
Yeah.
But I've never gone, so.
Well, I've been 20 plus times and I've had really good times. So, yeah.
I'm used to feeling left out of Gen Con, so.
Armin makes a good point. Without clerics, you could just have healers and doctors. You could have magical healers. They know all these plants and remedies and spells that heal. You don't need the cleric class.
Right. I mean, there's no. Right. I'd just be restating all of that stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
Clerics are just the thing that was made at the time to fulfill that niche back in the day. And it's been carried over since then. I don't even think you need clerics to have gods in your. You don't have to. If you have gods in your campaign world, you don't need to have clerics.
Right. You could have deities and clerics don't exist. It could be that they're just trying, or they could be worship. It's hard to imagine having gods and nobody worshiping them. You could probably pull that off too if you wanted to.
Well, you could still have people that worship them. You can have priests that are lay priests or that are priests but aren't adventuring priests.
Yeah.
There's priests, there's temples, there's all the stuff, but there's not a whole class that's just about the healing, the one little bit. So you don't need to have a cleric even to have deities. They can be separate.
This is interesting. This is Planescapey. Mercer Core says, can't they, the clerics, just be wrong and attribute their abilities to things that aren't real? That would be an interesting twist.
No.
Well, what if they were faithful? What about hold on, Joe. You could have this. I'd have a hard time imagining a whole bunch of them, but you could have someone who is really just a wizard and he's learned all these spells and he thinks he's getting powers from a god where he's doing all these rituals, but they're just his way to cast spells.
Sure.
You could do
and
that.
I guess you could have it to where all of the wizards in your campaign world think that they're getting their power from a divine source, but they're not. I guess you could.
You could.
I don't know why you would. It's a nice plot, subplot, or something like that in a novel or story.
Yeah.
But at the game table, it's kind of, I don't know. I personally don't know why you would have that in your campaign world.
Right. You made me think of something that I forgot. Oh well, totally blanked. What do you think about this? Uh, remember when we old school, we used to call down the gods? Remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah,
When
yeah, yeah.
we're really young and playing, you could get, for some reason, I thought you could make a God call. I must have read that somewhere. So if you rolled 100 on a God call, you could get one to come down and help you. And then I did all sorts of weird stuff with magic items. How prevalent, how front and center, how much interference should the gods have? And you're going to have gods, you're going to have clerics, they're going to worship them, they're going to be real. How much should they play in a game? And would there be a point where Joe's like, this is dumb?
Well, should is
I
would rather say,
that's what I'm saying.
what do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want? Should is kind of weird to say it. There's not a. Are you going to? Oh yeah. Are you going to? You have a starred comment still. Are you going to come back to that at some point?
Oh, let me see if it was something.
Flatey?
Oh yeah, Flatey. Let's see here. He said, "I'd be down with the fantasy setting with zero magic or religion." Not sure if Joe would be down with that.
I don't know what would be fantasy about it. How would it be fantasy?
No magic and no religion?
Even if the players didn't have magic, maybe they had, like with Conan, he had to fight against evil magic or whatever. That's something. That's one thing. But no magic and no.
Does no magic mean no monsters?
I just don't know what. I don't know what would be fantasy about that.
Yeah. Who knows?
Okay. A fantasy simply means not real.
Correct.
So technically speaking, it could be a alternate pseudo medieval setting or something close,
right?
And have just fictitious things going on, and that could be technically fantasy.
And you have fighters and thieves as classes, and I know there's more to that than that. All their variants. I guess it depends what you find fun. Maybe.
Yeah.
It wouldn't feel very magical to me, but that doesn't mean it's not. You could have fantastical things happening, like people getting stabbed by swords 7 times and still fighting. That's pretty fantastical. But
so
the whole deities in the campaign, how should they be used? Or how, I don't know, you don't have the word show. What I'm trying to say is, for you, Joe, what level of influence would you like the deities and gods to play in a game?
Again, it all depends. I mean, if the deities are being summoned or invoked on a regular basis, especially to the point where the player's actions are kind of irrelevant.
Yep.
Then I would say, well, what's the point of playing? What are we doing? But I think you can still have a campaign where a deity is heavily involved, and still have a cool campaign. It all depends on where you put it at. If every time the players turn around, Zeus pops up and says, "Hey, what's up?" That might be weird. But let's say Zeus or whoever physically has a throne and sits in, let's say, the capital of the current region or world, and he's has influence, especially in his immediate surroundings, and has agents throughout the world or whatever. I think that could still be fun.
Oh, Patty and T-shirt in the house. Hey, T-shirt, what's up, bro? Patty's
Hey,
here.
T-shirt.
And T-shirt said, "At L, you live." I thought it was. I know it'd been a long time since we've seen him. Glad you're here, buddy. It's good to hear from you. Apparently, there was. He said, "L said the reports of his death were slightly exaggerated." So, I guess he was stunned for a second, but not killed. He failed his saving throw against something.
He was busy.
Yeah, probably busy. Life will do that to you.
Right. So I think a good approach is for the DM to decide or experiment. So you as the DM say, I want X amount of involvement, direct involvement from the deity. The deity's going to live right there on the world, and he's going to be the king or whatever. But he's going to do all the things. And have his agents and minions and a mover and shaker, right?
Yeah.
Or he's up on high and has just his agents, and you don't really deal directly with him, except on special occasions when you roll double zeros and you've summoned. You probably still don't summon him. You probably summon an angel or a diva
or an avatar.
Functionary,
at best an avatar of him. Yeah.
Right. Unless there's some, let's say there's some kind of stone or crystal or some location you go to. The DM puts it special in the campaign world. If you go there on the solstice or when all the stars and the moon are all aligned properly, and you say the proper words and make sure you say them all, not just some of them, and then you get an avatar, or you get a solar or something like that. I can't imagine you ever summoning Zeus.
No. I always thought it'd be cool to have a deity on your planet. Imagine one that lived on the actual planet and had an island where he was actually existing. That was his home base. That would be interesting. Lady answered some questions we had, talking about his no magic, no wizards, no clerics. Medieval would probably be a better term, like a human-only Dark Ages. That's the way he's thinking of it, and he made a good
Medieval
point.
Or Dark Ages, yeah.
Yeah, and he said, just because something is rumored to be magical and mysterious doesn't mean it's so. Yeah, you could be people that just show up to debunk things. You could be the Mythbusters of the world. Hey, Mr. Boivan, you heard it right. Oh, L. Sharon. Hey, man, I'm glad he had a transplant, dude. All right. Well, I'm glad you're okay. And looks like he had some rejection of the thing, but he's going now. So I'm glad you're back and standing vertical. That's really cool.
At least healthy.
Yeah. Hopefully things are going to be okay for him. So, all right, bud. Best of luck. All right. Let's see here. I guess for me, I would refer the gods. I love the idea of the gods being enigmatic. I'm not sure if I love Hyperborea, where it seems like a lot of the gods are downright, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost Cthulhuoid in their alienness. You know, like the Zathakwa is the most commonly worshipped god, and all the gods in Hyperborea have both good and bad elements. I think mostly, I don't know, anybody's expert can chime in here, but yeah, it's kind of a thing that I wish it's a little too much, but I think I'd like the gods to be distant, very hard pressed to ever interact with the god directly, and just basically let them work through their intermediaries and their followers.
Then that's what you do in your campaign world.
Correct. That's what I would do. Right.
I don't think that there is a level of involvement that you can say should. It's what's fun for a DM in their campaign. So you pick one, and then you do it, and then adjust fire.
I fully misspoke. That's not what I meant. I'm not saying should in the sense that if you don't do, you should do that. You're wrong if you don't do that.
Well, I know, but I think a lot of times we say should.
Yes.
When what we really mean is what's good. What is a good way to do things. But even that is dependent on a particular table and what they like doing. I mean, it was childish for us, but we had a lot of fun making out the Greek and Norse pantheons into the WWF.
Yes, we sure did.
And on the regular, they were in a bout of one sort or another at our direction. So that was us as like 13, 14-year-olds. Yeah. But we got out of that pretty quick. It was only like the first year or two that we played. Then we did other things.
Yeah. Dark Dicks in the house. That's cool.
Forgotten Realms had all kinds of God stuff all the time. But it was usually high level, and it affected the campaign world at a moment in time, even if it technically took a year. And then they were done, and they were back kind of up in the clouds.
The Greyhawk deities were present, but I don't remember how significant they were in the campaign. I didn't really follow a Greyhawk theme in my campaign. I didn't try to follow Gary's campaign or the canon. Iron Man says, here's a good one. The gods in Fafford and the Grey Mouser were scary. They could reward and they punished. They didn't have human qualities. Makes for good grit. It would. It'd be a gritty game.
Well, if all the gods were like the great old ones from Cthulhu, that would be pretty gritty.
That seems the case in Hyperborea. I know we haven't dove in that deep yet, but
it sure does.
It sure does seem like it, man.
Does.
Well, those two deities, you guys were like, holy crap. I'm like, this is the good one. And you're like, whoa, he's messed up. So a lot of that's, so really your clerics and stuff seem to just placate gods. People, worshipers placate them. They don't necessarily, oh, you're so lovely. What about eternal consequences? With deities in your campaign, there's kind of a heaven. You know, if you go Planescape, there's 47 heavens. There's the twin paradises of Bitopia. There's the fields of Elysium. There's the seven heavens of Mount
So where the character's soul goes after they die.
Yeah. So how does that something that you find interesting at all? I mean, not that we've done much with it, but just the idea of the eternal. Do the gods? I guess maybe how might that affect?
I really don't know why that matters in our games.
Yeah, other than if you wanted to really,
unless it provided a motivation of some kind,
right? Or resurrection magic,
right? But the resurrection just says it works,
right? That's what it says.
Now, just by the rules.
Correct.
We've talked about resurrection. It's probably, especially the 5th level version, is probably a little too low level. But if you just go with the way the spell's written in most of the editions, except 5th edition has some pretty heavy caveats, but most of the other ones don't. And it's simply you cast the spell. If conditions are met, resurrection happens. And it's point blank.
Right.
So regardless of what eternal consequences there are in D&D in general, resurrection works. Now, you as the DM, since it's a DIY game, regardless of what some people might want to do the raw thing, but it's a DIY game. DM says, your soul goes to a place. If there's all kind of shenanigans that can happen if there's multiple different higher powered entities that can get in between a dead person and their eternal place, and like devils and whatnot.
Yeah, well, and if you read the Planescape stuff for 2nd edition, they go into that, how you can become a petitioner from every plane. You know, if you're more like a lawful neutral guy, you would end up a mechanist, and you might eventually get turned into a Modron, you know, hundreds or thousands of years after you died, or just be a petitioner on the plane. You kind of you're a spirit person or a physical person and mechanist, but you know, I'm not sure. I like that initially, and I still do love the idea of it. It makes the planes come alive. It populates the planes, right? Petitioners populate the planes with sort of people, so that's kind of cool if you need that experience. But some people are just happy with they're dead, they're gone to a better place, move on, or they're gone to a worse place, move on,
or they're just gone somewhere.
Yeah. I don't think Iron Man asked the question, and not Iron Man, but L asked the question about if there's no gods, would there be raised dead or reincarnate? And most people said, well, you could use magic, and I kind of agree with that. Magic's magic. If you really want to have raised dead or reincarnate in your game, you just allow it, even if you don't have clerics. So yeah,
it's just a matter of reanimation of one sort or another.
Oh, Darth, go ahead.
You might have a point with reincarnate or raised dead, that without gods, do the characters have souls? And if they don't have a soul, they're just meat sacks. Then once they're done, they're done. There's nothing you can really do except for magic. And how does that really work?
I think
your better bet is just to say it works.
Yeah, I think so in general. Darth made a point that reminded me of something I used to think. He says, I have the rule that if you don't worship a god, you cannot be resurrected. Does not matter the god the cleric worships, your god has to actually place your soul back into your body. So his world restricts resurrection and stuff.
Right. So he has his own rules. Right.
And T-shirt said something kind of off the topic, but connected to what I said. I know, dude. He says, they're going to ruin Planescape pretty badly. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the next 5e book. That's all right. I got my old stuff. What I like out of that they can't change. So
as if there's a need. Most of the Planescape stuff was setting information.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a couple of classes, I think, maybe.
Yeah, there wasn't much
in the faction book had some stuff.
Well, they already had the Azamar and the Tiefling.
Yeah.
And I believe in second edition, that's where they showed up. It was in the Planescape book. So, and the Barrier, the goat dude, the goat centaur. So I don't know why I don't know. Who knows? I think
they just got to put their little pink spin on it, I guess.
Yeah, they're going to put the little blue hair crap on it. So I agree. Just completely ignore their trash.
Yes.
All right. Anything else with gods? Because I kind of hit all the questions I had.
I think really the
Hold on, Ryan David. He's waiting for Bert to cry when he sees Planescape. Oh, Bert's a pretty big fan, right? I thought he was. So he's going to cry. Yeah, he is. Yeah, true.
No, I think we covered it pretty well. Apart from some typos here.
Oh, well, yeah. Fair enough.
But
that was a speed. I did that late at night, I think. Did you get it last night or the night before? I think I did it Sunday night, or was it when I got home?
I think it was Sunday night.
When I got home, yeah, I was like, oh, dude.
So we talked about pantheons, which we probably should have just said polytheistic.
Yes, I screwed that up.
But pantheons are part of polytheistic.
I would say yes.
Religions in general.
Polytheistic. Yeah, the pantheon of Greeks.
Because I put some notes in here to talk about regional, world spanning. I think we talked about that. You can have a pantheon, but it doesn't necessarily have to reach the whole world.
Yeah, well,
it can be restricted to a region because that's just the way it worked, and then have individuals here and there throughout the world. There's ways to do it where you don't just have to have one or the other. You can have a mix.
I think Ellen Arnman kind of shot that out when they were talking about, worshiping Zeus and Sparta and all that stuff, whatever it was. So, all right. Well, I guess you should tell everybody to do the things, huh? Before we move on to the next topic.
Yes. All right. If you're not already subscribed, click that bell notification.
Yes.
Hit us up with some comments, questions, and whatnot. Share us with your friends and your enemies. Oop, I just made things go away. There we go. Oh, boy. There.
Yep.
Clicking the wrong stuff like a boomer, even though I'm not a boomer.
We're close, though. We're not that far off. We're kind of close.
We're on the
few more
edge.
years, we'd have been right in there. So, it's all right. I feel boomish. All right, dude. Next one's yours, baby. It's all yours.
The weirdness. We talked about last week how you could look at adventuring in and of itself being kind of weird.
Right.
And Randy and I were talking before we got started that it's probable that the non-adventurers in the campaign setting would look at adventures as being odd or weird because of how dangerous adventuring is.
Right.
And so that's kind of what we're at. We talked about it last week a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit more about it, the weirdness of the adventuring life. No.
She's upset about that. She loves her D&D. Don't call it weird.
Normally Randy's doing a lot of talking when she's going off, and I mute.
Sorry, she needs something special. It's crazy, but I think the idea was I don't have the actual notes on this one, but Joe was running the show. I think he's back now. So
yeah. So a lot of times she needs to go out when she's
right.
walking off. Sometimes she's just excited because she's a young dog. And then dogs, you know how dogs are. They like to bark.
That was the 3E class I was trying to think of, Pathfinder. The Oracle, which doesn't have to worship a god, but they are still powered by God and cursed by one. Yeah. My wife played an Oracle Paladin that was pretty devastating back in the day. She was tough. quite combo class. That's when your wife played. Who was her little half orc that was kind of prissy, but she was awesomely tough? Violet, something like that was her name. I don't remember. Your wife played a fighter that was a half orc fighter female, and she was like kind of girly.
Oh, it wasn't Violet.
She acted super
some other herb.
Yeah, she acted real girly, but was super tough.
Right.
That was funny.
A half orc.
Yeah.
There's no penalty for being of the feminine for being female.
No.
In the modern game, which
you love it, Joe. You have no problem with that at all. You think
yes, because men and women are interchangeable.
They're completely interchangeable. We're all the same. So that's the best thing about everything.
So yeah. All right. So
weirdness, adventurers, hated.
So a couple of things about the weirdness. It's just something that I thought of just as a discussion topic.
Sure.
In your campaign world, you can completely ignore some of the things that make being adventurers or the adventuring as a thing weird. The NPCs, when they interact, don't even have to acknowledge the adventuring. Because really, your PCs go into town to the tavern and order stuff, and then they get stuff and then they leave. So they don't even have to use the word adventurer at all. Say, hello, dude, here's some mutton. And then, it's the way normally an adventuring party gets the things that they need to do is usually interacting with an NPC who knows that this is the thing that they do, right?
Right.
They don't just explore and accidentally find things to do. People usually, so the DM usually directs them in some kind of way, whether heavy-handed or not, through NPCs. So there's a few things I thought that you can embrace or not as a way of reflecting that adventuring is kind of an occupation.
Okay.
In these game worlds, because you're not doing anything else much to earn your keep, to be able to eat. Although when you're playing in Randy's game, you probably do because he's stingy.
Hey man, something to do with those secondary skills, baby. You got to eat. Adventurers got to eat. They're not going to eat on my goblin's dime.
Right. So back in early Forgotten Realms, I think they had adventuring companies.
Yes.
That was Forgotten Realms.
That's where I first heard the phrase.
What is Bruce saying here? Hey, buddies, made it in. Wanted to say, here's how you handle it. Always package an oracle in every NPC or monster band and give them templates from advanced bestiary. All right, Bruce.
Right on, dude.
Kind of shoehorned a bit, but you got it. But yeah, so.
Oh, David Guilf makes a good point, Joe. If you play in the RPG skin suit that Watsy calls D&D, you can work as a barista.
Correct.
And you can eat and drink coffee to your heart's desire. Croissants, no less.
Yes. And your goals are to deliver the orders properly and
Correct.
keep the coffee machine clean. Correct. So the idea is if you have adventurers and adventuring is a thing that has happened a long time in the campaign world, certain things may happen, like the adventuring company. Somebody's going to get the idea to round up a bunch of guys and girls to a lesser extent because they're weak. Anyway, a bunch of guys to go and take contracts, maybe be proactive, maybe get political power. And it's a different way of being a lord if the PC is the one that's doing it. But someone's going to get that idea. But the same way as like a guild. It's a different kind of organization.
Sure. Darthiac has a good idea, and you may have it on your list too. He says, I think he meant what if the NPCs treated the party as if they were traveling mercenaries passing through with fear and curiosity.
Right.
I think that's probably the most reasonable way to treat them for NPCs.
Yeah, mercenaries. Mercenaries in a more traditional world are generally sent out for military purposes, pacifying populations, maybe rescuing a a noble's family member who's been kidnapped and being
Mhm.
held for ransom, which was a big thing back in the day,
Mhm.
for real. So mercenaries might be doing that. So yeah, they might be considered mercenaries.
Yep. And
But
I've go ahead.
but that's not that different. It's just a different word for the same thing.
Yeah.
It's an adventuring company or a merc company. It probably would be even better to call it that. This
Right.
is a mercenary company. You
Right.
hire us for jobs, and this is the person you got to contact and whatnot. But you've also have a bunch of traditional organizations that will send out adventurers as well, like churches,
Yep.
the local lord,
Mm-hmm.
any kind of mercantile guild,
Mm-hmm.
because
Merchants.
they're at least going to need folks to guard their caravans, which is kind of a thing
Mm-hmm.
that adventurers do now and again.
Right. I've always thought that adventurers, when they come into town, I thought they would always be looked at as like, you know, I mean, probably with quite a bit of fear, because just the idea that they're totally armed to the teeth, and they probably have someone that can cast magic. Depending on your size of town, you might too. But I would lean toward most NPCs would be pretty nervous around adventurers, just because they look like rough hombres.
Yeah, they're going to look dangerous. I mean, in the Western, the man with no name,
Yep.
he was just a drifter
Right.
and he gave off a kind of vibe to everybody that
And
was dangerous.
there were lots of,
You know.
if I remember the old modules correctly, it's been so long. I think even Gygax would describe how adventurers, I think the hobo part came into play, and that a lot of places would look down on adventurers. Like, you don't even have a job. You don't live anywhere. You literally are just a drifter. You could be all kinds of dangerous.
People don't like drifters
Yeah.
because they often come in, take resources out of the town and go somewhere else instead of staying, putting down roots and helping that particular community grow. Which it's kind of short-sighted because a lot of adventurer drifters have coin to spend, which will definitely help any economy, especially small economies.
Mm-hmm. The
So,
David Will
but
says,
there's potential danger because the adventurers, the DM is going to surround the adventurers with danger
sure,
on purpose.
it's going to literally follow them. Yeah, meta-wise, they'd be like, crap, adventurers are in town? Oh, what is the DM going to do to us? What has he done to us? Why are they here? What are they here to fix?
Well, from a point of view, a group of townsfolk
Mm-hmm.
could look at adventurers as troublemakers
Yes.
because every time some folks like this show up, there's something bad going on.
Right.
And who's the cause of it? Is it just that they were happening and the adventurers just happened to show up at the same time this thing was going on? That's kind of suspicious.
What a coinky dink.
Yeah.
David Will says, given how prevalent monsters are in a default D&D campaign setting, I figure that townsfolk have ready access to their own weapons and armor. There's
Yes.
probably some, yes. It's probably
Yes,
not
they
uncommon.
probably do. The difference between, and that could put a spin on what I'm saying. Even though the adventurers could be looked at as dangerous, if the prevalence of monsters causes the regular townsfolk to carry swords and bows all the time, it's probably going to be a little less. But they're still the adventurers, the drifters are going to be outsiders.
Yes.
Right? They're going to
Yes.
look like outsiders because in a lot of communities, there's going to be some homogeneity in the way people dress. That's a cultural aspect that they're all going to look similar to some degree. They might have similar clothing because there's only a couple of people in town that sew up clothes.
Right.
So their clothes are going to have some similarities in material and color and how they're crafted and fashioned. And then the drifters are going to walk in and they're going to be, 5 different, they're going to have a cloak that's different from their boots, that's different from their tunic. They picked up that bow from an orc tribe, so it's going to look weird.
Mm-hmm.
So the adventures are going to be different enough so that even if the villagers are armed, they're still going to look at them as outsiders, depending on how things work out. If the adventuring party is from that town, then probably not.
Reactionary principle gaming, Mr. Boisvan, if I didn't say welcome, sir, says, plus the adventuring party always had a drow, a tiefling, and a dragonborn. Yeah, the party looks odd with their composition. If you come into a basically human town and you're with a party of 6 characters and only one's human and the rest is a bunch of oddball, not even oddball, just a half elf, a halfling, a dwarf. Sounds like a bad joke. A halfling, a half elf, and a dwarf walk into a bar. And if you bring in the dragonborn and the Azamar and the Grippleys, all the 5e stuff, what a weird place that would be. That's a good weirdness. That should be a separate weirdness topic, the weirdness of various races. All right. Anything else?
Right. So whenever they come in town, they're going to have to overcome some suspicion or not, and just, bully their way through town and say, shut up, NPCs, we're going to do our thing and then leave. So leave us alone.
Funny job title, random troubleshooters. That's what we do. We go around and we solve
I was going to bring that up. So what the adventurers are going to end up doing is troubleshooting, which is what we were already talking about. Go solve problems, either rescue the princess or kill the local group of orcs that have come out of the woodwork, or kill all the rats that are under the tavern, because that always happens.
It's strange, isn't it? You can pretty much count on that. There's going to be clear the rats from the local tavern's basement. Me, though, when I run my own homebrew game, you guys going to be killing rats from the church basement. So it'll be real different.
Right. So troubleshooter is a lot of what adventuring is. However, you can also be pioneers, or in today's parlance, colonizers, which might be troublesome for some folks.
Welcome, Crap Phone. He says, see also Tecumel, the world of the Empire Petal Throne, right? For how to manage unruly foreigners. Merely uncouth gets you jail time. Anything worse is far more serious. That's an interesting topic that the players probably really, especially the way some of my players ask, they should have acted in the past, should probably run afoul of the law a lot more often than they do.
Right. So, and how tough are the city guards? So if
Correct.
you come into town and you don't conform to the local customs, which some cultures might really look down on, how are they going to enforce it on a bunch of 9th level characters?
Yep.
Throwing fireballs and teleports and raised deads and all that stuff.
Correct.
I mean, not every community is going to have 50th level town guards.
Dude, I think even 5th level party would be tough for most small towns to handle. You're definitely you're not running them off with pitchforks.
Unless you have a thing, and I'll talk about what that thing could be. At Biggest Geekus from David Gwill. Shut up walking and talking bags of XP. Exactly. So what if there was some sort of, it could be cultural, right? It could be, it could just come from the DM. Say, yeah, you can come in here and burn the town down. Eventually, someone's going to send a bunch of high-level dudes after you and put you in your place, right?
Right, sure.
So you could do that and just maybe curtail that somewhat. It could be a thing that's built into the campaign setting where maybe there's some sort of magical stones or markers or something within towns that protect them from unruly adventurers. So you come in and start trouble, they can invoke whatever the stones are, and you're kicked out of town. Just poof, you're teleported.
My limited video game experience, I played Baldur's Gate 1 back in the day, and I remember if you killed a townsfolk, I think you had to kill multiple ones, but if you killed 2 or 3 of them, there would be a group of the Flaming Fist mercenary company from Baldur's Gate would pop in, and they're like 7th, 8th level characters with magic, and they would just tear you to pieces. That was hilarious. Patrick Demos says, except in the Forgotten Realms, all small hamlets have 15th level fighter guards. True.
Yeah, Green Apple says, I wouldn't want to play with people that just decide to start trouble in the campaign anyway. Right, and that's one thing where this particular thing probably isn't a big deal with most tables where the DM says, this is what we're doing tonight. And the players say, yeah, let's go do that. And they don't start a lot of trouble. I'm just talking about stuff that's happened over the last almost 50 years of playing that, some people are more prone to chaos than others. But being pioneers or colonizers or just going out into the wilderness, discovering new locations, old ruins, bringing treasure back to civilization, information. Maybe you've discovered an old temple to an old god. And once you've gotten to that temple, the possibility of that religion or whatever being revived can happen. Or maybe you open a book you shouldn't have and the great old one comes to devour everybody on the planet.
Right.
So going out and into the wilderness and discovering all that stuff is often left to adventurers because they're more capable.
Yep. Halcyon H says, welcome, sir, says, most small towns are within a kingdom of some sort. Usually town guards are ex-military with proven records, and usually border guards and town guards are filled with veterans or rewarded to run. Yeah, the town.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
But depending
it makes sense that it makes sense.
But it's hard to imagine a 9th or 10th level. I guess the captain of the guard in a really large town of, say, 6,000, 7,000 people might be a 7th or 8th level fighter. But if he's not there, his lieutenants are what, 3rd maybe? So if you're
it all depends on how you conceive of your adventuring world.
Right.
If there's a long history of adventuring and people gaining levels and then retiring at some point, there's bound to be somewhere. I mean, unless you're going to say that the adventuring party are the only adventurers on the whole planet, or there's so few.
Bruce Lombardo.
Or you just say that they're mercenaries that they're NPC mercenaries. They're not none of them are PCs or never were PCs.
No.
But they could have class levels.
Yeah. I do think that, Bruce Lombardo said that this is a cool concept. He's been talking about a druid. I'll just pick the middle. I'm picking up halfway through the conversation. A druid could completely wreck a party. He could have the earth soften the dirt their inn is on, summon some griffins to eat the horses, could literally summon monsters, lots of options. I mean, a druid could be a protector of a town. And if you start something, he might bring, I think Bruce said he could bring all kinds of animals into town and cause all sorts of trouble.
You could be on both sides of the trouble because, especially if you read the initial entry in Player's Handbook, First Edition Player's Handbook.
True neutral.
They have to be true neutral, and they could go in and start trouble, tell their party about it, and then the party goes in and solves it, or just do the opposite. I mean, because neutral is dumb, or at least the way it was described.
Yeah, I think
yes.
It was the thing when we were really young. I don't imagine that happening too often these days, at least not with us. You guys don't usually look to like push your bully, I guess, to another group of people.
No, we don't usually push our weight around against weaker opponents.
We're supposed to be heroes,
right? Weaker people. I mean, go into town, you do stuff that you got to do in town. You can't kill them all. Then there's no stuff to do. Eventually, you're going to get a bad reputation. Someone's going to come and try to stomp a mud hole in you. No, it's not worth it. And it only causes the DM to prematurely age. So,
and you know what? It's hard for me to run games like that, but I can't imagine that if a group of characters decided to just go, so what if they played it on the down low? If you're a bunch of smart characters, smart players could like get away with little things, do sneaky, wicked things until they get really powerful, and they could get to a point to where ain't nobody in the kingdom can mess with them. And they'd be like, come on, bring your mounted knights. We got a meteor swarm for you.
Right. If you go with some tables, there's always someone, there's a bunch of them out there you can find. The level of the amount of leveled people throughout a particular population. This level of population has this many leveled people, and this is how high the levels are. At some point, you're going to exceed almost all of it, except for the very biggest cities. If you have if you have communities that are that big. So if you have something like ancient Rome or anything like that, they're going to have some high leveled people. But everywhere outside of that, it's going to be very rare. But the players are likely going to be higher than that, and they could push their weight around quite a bit until the emperor says, "All right, we're gonna shut you down."
Yeah. David Will said this, and I agreed with him. He said, easiest solution is to not run games for people that like to screw with NPCs for no reason. Then you don't got to worry about if the party can topple the whole kingdom. But I have a question. What about player agency?
Or what if that kingdom needs to be toppled?
That's a good point.
But this would be the DM's fault. So if the DM has a doppelganger as the king or openly evil, and the players are like, yeah, we're gonna stop that. We're gonna end that at some point.
Oh yeah, you'd probably get on a short list too quick if you start throwing your weight around too heavy. You'd have to be crafty, and I always thought it'd be better if you're going to be a bunch of evil turd buckets to do a lot of good deeds. I mean, literally just be the hero for a long time until you get powerful. Yes, I agree. David Gwill says their agency is starting their own game so they can go around and massacre villages of nameless NPCs for the heck of it. Right on, brother. I agree with you. I was just being silly.
Yeah, so a lot of this is kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Being the devil's advocate, whatever that phrase is.
Yeah.
That was the thing of the past, for us. But so right now, our crew, our group of players, our extended group of players, we generally just don't our PCs don't go out of their way to screw over the NPCs.
Right.
And
What's that? There's a YouTube channel where they kind of do silly skits involving video game play, and they go brave adventurer, and they act like they're NPCs in a video game. I forgot their name.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
No, but I mean, it does seem like sometimes that the NPCs are just like, oh, someone you don't even know you come into town, they go, oh, brave adventurer, we need help doing this.
Why and they tell you their life story.
Yeah. 6 years ago when I was but a lad, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
It's funny.
Thank you, T-shirt. Viva la Dirt League. Yes.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Thank you. It's very funny stuff.
It's more geared for video gamey stuff.
Thanks, Six Nations.
But it's funny.
Yeah. I agree, David Will. Players like that were from when we were younger and being silly. That got old. Said it made him quit gaming. Yeah. If that's all you had for your players, it would turn you off. I know I got tired of it, even with you guys early on. Joe was mostly in the minority. So he didn't want to do it, but they were going on, and he was trying to be the hero. But it's tough to be the good guy when everybody else in the party is very mercenary and do whatever you can.
Yeah, talking with the bartender, and then all of a sudden there's a fight, and everybody's getting killed. What's going on?
Are you about to make a deal with the priest, and someone says, "I don't like your God," stab. It's like, dude, what are you doing? But but eventually they came around. They grew out of that stuff. So
right, we all did.
We all did.
I had a thought and now it's gone.
No.
What I was going to say is this. You don't need to gear all of this stuff as like safety mechanisms for the most part, because for the most part, you don't have to worry about it as a DM. You, Randy, you don't have to worry about making sure there's high level people in every town in case the players want to act weird. However, it could be like that anyway, because if you just want to think about it logically,
right?
Because one, adventurers retire, and where are they going to go? Maybe they don't want to live in the big towns; they want to live in the small towns,
right?
And it doesn't have to be the PCs causing all the problems. What if there's like roving bands of ruffians that are beating up villagers all over the place? So there might need to be this thing, just because of how you have set up your world, irrespective of the PCs. The PCs, this doesn't necessarily need to be there because of the PCs. It might be there because of the campaign world. There might be high-level characters all over the place because adventuring is a thing. And there's going to be NPCs that retire. And, hey, I like that small town life. And, nobody knows that I'm a 20th level wizard. I just have a garden and I'm an herbalist. And they just know me as Joe the herbalist. And I hand out herbs. I really like the calm life.
Right.
But, every once in a while there's trouble and, maybe grabs his staff and goes and deals with it on the down low.
Yeah. Cast Disintegrate on the land sharks and no more problem.
Or they may be there just maybe they're they still have enough of their class abilities so that they can be a mentor for somebody within the party. So that's another good reason for there being or good use of higher level NPCs in town to be mentors.
More of like, I don't think it would be a fully common thing, but it would happen some, like El Sphincter in Shadowdale. He's like talk about a big fish in a small pond, but he is cosmically powerful. But you could have others. I think that's good. Yeah, I think it's important that that's a possibility. When I set up a town, unless I just want to have that, it's not like I have this secret. I used to be like, don't mess with the redheaded characters. They were always super tough. But now it's like, if the town shouldn't have anybody over 5th level, they don't. And if you guys wanted to run roughshod at 3rd level, you probably could.
Right.
So it's up to
in a lot of places.
Yeah, but I mean, not that there would.
Yeah,
I mean, Bruce made a big comment a while back, directed to me. It said, at Chicago, what about if you have a party that wrecked the last 6 border towns in Kingsmen? Now the border is weak and the orcs are neighboring. King's brother wants to invade. Yeah. Consequences for your actions, baby. Look at that. Now you got an orc war coming on. Maybe you don't care.
Right. So I guess all this is to say how much. So these are, in a way, like logical conclusions of what was happening in a campaign world where adventuring was going on.
Right.
You could have adventuring companies. You could have mercenary companies. You'd have all of your traditional organizations that already exist hiring adventurers to do things for them. And then the adventurers probably would end up being the majority of the pioneers to any wastelands because there's monsters out there. Just a regular person isn't going out there.
And depending on the region, they may or may not have a good reputation. There may be a region that ran into several sets of bad adventurers that cause trouble or shysters, rip people off. And some places they may be highly esteemed because they had more than a handful of venturing companies that saved the town, did great things for people, came through out of the kindness of their heart, did really nice things that didn't even take money for it. So your mileage would vary.
Right. Oh, yeah. I'm not refocusing on the security issue.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, I'm just kind of focusing, kind of getting us back into the weirdness.
Yes, right.
And when I say weirdness, I just mean what makes there are things that a game world is going to be different from the real world.
Sure.
And one of the things about our game worlds is there's adventurers running around.
Adventuring job. Yeah, it's a title. Yeah. It's a job that people do. And it does make sense for someone to go, hey, we got some adventurers in town. We've been having some weird noises out of the old graveyard. Maybe they could go check it out.
Right. Yeah. And these are tools you can use, I think, to make your campaign world a little more interesting.
Yeah. And lean into it.
You lean into the adventuring thing. And that's why I was mentioning the adventuring companies and all these things. And these are also ways that you can think of how the players get things to do. You don't necessarily have to have quest givers all over the place. You could just have a bunch of wilderness and say, hey, there's wilderness out there. Go for it. And then there you go. Why adventurers, not sharecroppers? What?
I don't know what else. Why adventurers, not? I don't know.
Sending sharecroppers out into the new lands? They're just going to get murdered.
I think he's saying, why couldn't adventurers be sharecroppers, maybe?
Well, it looks like he's trying to say, why are adventurers doing the exploring? Why not sharecroppers? Give them the sharecroppers that land. Are escort missions boring? I mean, I guess the adventurers could escort the sharecroppers out there. I'm not saying that the adventurers are going to till the soil. They have to go out there and make the area secure.
Correct. Well, there's all kinds of modules that start off with, hey, the king sends you on this to go scour the land and make sure it's safe for us to build a keep in it. That would be a real thing. So
yeah, the adventurers could be there to escort the farmers, but the adventurers are going to be the ones that beat up the monsters and discover the ruins and make sure that the sharecroppers aren't building their land on ancient Indian burial grounds and having a poltergeist all over the place.
Correct.
Right. So, or they're going to try and they're going to fail and they're going to be invited back to solve that problem later on.
Right on. Yeah, I think that would be. I feel like in the game world, adventurers just, it's hard to imagine. It could be that. Well, we'll talk about designing different concepts, but that would be the standard. Yeah, it would probably be an accepted job, even though sometimes it seems weird. Hail, adventurers.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Right. So our man says in London real world, merchant adventurers, merchant company chartered in 1407 that mainly exported English woolen cloth to the Netherlands, especially Antwerp. Mm-hmm. Right. There are a lot of examples of those kinds of things that happen in the real world. I mean, the exploration of Alaska was done mainly by adventurous sorts.
Sure.
Right. What about, and even just the settling of the West, colonizing the West here mm-hmm. in the U.S. was done by, some people were adventurous. A lot of them were.
A lot of them were pretty.
You had to be. Yeah. And you had to be because you didn't know what was out there. There was a lot of wild animals and folks that were living there originally that didn't want you anywhere around them, that kind of thing. Yeah, Lewis and Clark, adventurers. Mm-hmm. So they were just exploring the river, right? They were mapping out a particular river, but then they ended up doing a lot more than that, right? But in our world, you didn't have monsters. You had grizzly bears and rattlesnakes and other things that would make life difficult. But in the fantasy worlds that we play in, mm-hmm. there's that plus monsters and great old ones and fantastic terrain features. I mean, you could have a sinkhole that takes you to the elemental plane of fire,
right?
And all kinds of other things. It's a game world. It has fantastic things, and that's why the adventurers have fantastic abilities to help them deal with it.
David asked a good question. What motivates someone as an adventurer? It's kind of weird. I want to risk my life on a daily basis, slaying creatures and exploring otherworldly places. Yeah, that's a significant thing. I mean,
right, because that's the one thing that we were talking about last week. Is it an adrenaline rush,
right?
A death wish? Is it just mainly just the idea of the hero or being heroic, adventuresome? And it doesn't necessarily need to be, I want to kill monsters, but there's a unexplored, at least by anybody living in recent times, that area over there. We're in a tight spot here in the village. If I go over there and find something that will help us out, or we just don't know what's over there. And let's go find out what's over there.
In most towns and areas, there's also no other job that can get you rich really fast.
Right.
Yeah, you're risking your neck, but if you make it, you might have come home with 1,000 gold pieces. People never see that in their whole life. You could literally settle down. You could retire right then in most small medieval-esque towns.
Flady, sounds like Joe is implying we don't have mysterious things that go bump in the night now. Not a lot. Mm-hmm. The most unexplored part of our world now is under the ocean depths.
Yeah.
There's very little landmass that hasn't been explored at all. And I don't know. I mean, there might be some, but I doubt it. And we have satellites that can picture everything on the planet. So mysterious things that go bump in the night are often just people's imagination.
Who knows? Probably. I would think so.
But Yes, in our world right now, we have the capability of exploring every inch of the surface, not so much under the ocean because, the ocean. I mean, we did have that recent undersea submarine that just that collapsed because of poor construction, from what I understand.
Yep. Okay. Anything else on adventurers, Joe? Oh, Mr.
Yeah.
Bovan. Oh, they tried to explore the ocean a bit more recently.
Yes,
Yikes.
didn't go well for them. It's difficult. The pressure, the amount of resources you need to really do all that is pretty high.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, just I think, I'm coming up with this stuff to, I think, to maybe give myself a focus and
I think
to
it's
point
really
out that I think it's more interesting if you lean into these things.
Yeah, I've noticed
instead
there's
of
a thing.
ignoring them.
Yeah, you seem to want, and I don't disagree with this. This is where Joe and I are a little different, but I've really grown to appreciate his side of it. He wants to lean into the game part of the game. I mean, and that's okay. And I often want to lean into the narrative part of the game. What would make sense? What I think would make sense? What would be cool? And sometimes there's arguments to be made that, when you do it the way I do, you probably start changing the rules a lot. Whereas Joe is like, well, this is the game we have. Let's play it and really lean into it. Let's take all the elements and let it see what happens.
But I think even if you're into the narrative, these things can add to it.
Sure.
All these things, when I'm leaning into the game part, I think it can add to the narrative or the interesting aspects of the game.
Sure. I think you're doing that. You're saying, okay, the game has this rule. Adventurers are things. Adventuring is a thing. That's what you do. You go into weird places and find portals and dangerous, otherworldly, places. So how would that really look? Let's just say, what would be the consequence of that? So people would know about it and they would do it and they would call you adventurer. That wouldn't be that weird. So,
right. And I think, I don't think you spend a lot of time on it, because the more work you put into your campaign, the less it's going to get done. It's inversely proportional.
Yeah.
Because the players are only going to get X amount of done. And if you make Y be bigger, it's a smaller portion.
And I can't tell you how many times I've gone down a rabbit hole when I'm writing an adventure or preparing a session. And I'm like, that's some cool background. I'm like, and I just wasted 3 hours when I could have got a lot better stuff done in preparation for my group. So all this to say, these are little buds that you can place in your campaign. And if the players grab onto it, then you can flesh it out more. Sure.
And you may not ever need to, but just little things.
Right. All right. Shall we move into the third segment? We ready?
Yes. We have a giveaway to do.
We do. Free ticket to Big GeekCon coming up.
So the idea is we're going to give away a ticket for free. So if you would like to attend, but for some reason maybe can't afford it, or that $30 is going somewhere else, or this ticket would encourage you to come,
yes,
then we want you to participate. If you already have a ticket, maybe you still can, especially if you have a friend that's kind of going, I don't know if I want to go. I don't want to pay for it myself, because people are like that. You can easily give it to somebody.
Right. I'm writing down the dates and the place and posting it.
Not plus lodging, Ryan.
No.
Just a ticket to attend.
Just attend. Just your $30 worth, bro.
If
I wish we could
someone wants to donate 2 nights at the hotel, then we will happily attach that to one of the tickets.
Oh, Fuddy says, yes, please come. I need people to practice gaming with. You're going to practice with us, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, if it comes down, if it's like 15, 20 people and that's all we have, Did I say 4 points? I said 4 wins again. Josh
did?
got me. Yeah. And I think it's correct in the freaking notes. 4 points. It is. I said 4 wins.
Yes.
Thanks, Martin said. Dude, I'm a nutbag. Wow. That's how we want to do this. We want to see this, how people, you want to just count the
We
people
can't
that are
do
here?
show of hands, but we could just say how do you want to do that? Everybody respond to, so we can get a count. So I can say, because I don't know if everybody here wants to participate in the giveaway.
Right.
And I don't want to say, okay, blah, blah, blah gets it, but they're like, I don't want it. I'm not coming. I don't like you guys. Over and over again. So let's say everyone who wants to participate in tonight's giveaway, type in your on, that's on chat. And if you're listening, you're not on chat, get on chat and type in the number 1 in chat. And then I'll be able to count up how many people do that. I'll give you some time. And then we'll randomly determine which of the people who typed in the number 1.
Yeah.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah. So everybody put 1 down. All right. So Ryan's saying if he wins, well, we're going to ask.
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah. If you put the number 1 in the chat, we'll count. Okay. Cal's got a 1. Excellent.
So we'll give you a couple of minutes to give it in.
Martinson's got a 1.
2 minutes from right now.
Sounds good. Excellent. So I backed another Indiegogo. Well, I got Anvil issue number 1. Did you know that, Joe?
Yes, I did too.
Yeah. And I'm supporting Anvil issue number 2. And because my dude from
Patty's got to be different.
He's got to be a rebel, baby. That's what I like about him.
The number 1.
Nope.
But that's fine.
He's counting.
Spelling out 1, it will count.
Yeah. But Crap Phone says he's out in Cali. So California Stan. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, I can imagine that's a long trip for 2 days.
That's a good haul. I'd love to see Cal come. That'd be cool. And Patty. And Martinson, who better be 1. Bruce put a 1, though he's going to donate.
Okay, 1 minute to go.
Yeah. Oh, Patty couldn't afford the travel. So we got 3 people, I think. 4 count. See, 1. Patty's bouncing. He was joking. So Martinson, Cal, and Bruce.
There's only 3?
It's only 3 so far. Yeah. I figured it'd be tough. Patrick said he'd prefer to pay. That's what I like to see. Support
Thank you, Pat.
But it's cool, man. We had some of our
30
homies.
seconds for people who are listening. There's only 3 people participating, which is fine.
I can roll a D3. I got it. When Joe calls
Patty's Parlor buying a new dryer.
Oh. Right.
That's off topic.
He was helping somebody with a dryer a minute ago. So yeah,
I have to count out because I couldn't afford to travel. Yeah.
Yeah. He's bounced. So Cal, Martinson, and Bruce. Oh, Martinson's getting one for a coworker.
That is awesome. All right, time is up. Time is up.
Do you want me to roll a D3 and count straight down?
Roll a D3, count straight down.
Drop down. Okay, it is. Hold on. I can push a button to make it happen. Number 3. Would that be?
That would be
Bruce?
That would be Bruce, who's going to just donate it.
Well, you know what? If he's going to donate it to me, let's roll a D2 and do it between. Is that okay, Bruce? Can I roll a D2, brother? Since you're going to donate
the said prize to Randy's house.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll pay for my house. That's sweet. Bruce, is it okay if we kind of give it to somebody else? Because Cal and
you know what you know what we should do is wait a bit closer.
You want to
do the giveaways?
Bruce
after
said
today.
It's fine.
Yeah.
No,
so he's giving this away.
Right.
Right. So it's going to get recycled into the giveaways.
Okay.
And we will schedule giveaways a little closer because
You sure?
it might. Yeah.
Cal may need to know though.
Huh? Cal may need to know
They
what.
mean time wise how he's going to get here. I don't know.
Was
Why don't
Cal
we,
one of the three?
yeah. Why don't we let's do him or Martinson's co-worker.
Yeah,
Let's go that route. Let's just do two of them, okay?
D2.
Okay. All right. So looks like the roll is number 2, so that'd be Martinson. Cal, come back next week. We'll get you one, bro. I'm sure you'll win next week. So, because we have one more ticket.
Yeah.
For sure.
If Cal is the only one that wants one, I mean,
we'll
we'll just give it to him.
We may just give it to him, dude. We'll talk about it off here. So I want to get rid of him. So, all right, Martinson's got a free ticket for his buddy. That's awesome. Co-worker, check, Martinson. So.
All right. So that is one ticket given away. Potentially two.
Arman is right. Plans need to be made if you're going to run games. Next week, I'm going to talk to Joe. I want to start gathering information. I don't know if we should do it on the website where Joe had suggested. I got to get games posted. I've got a long list of things I'm getting done this next week. And so, yeah, so keep a 9-hour drive for Flady. Dang.
Yeah, I'm thinking the giveaways for, we could probably do some giveaways for some of the local folks.
Yeah.
Their amount of planning isn't going to be nearly as much as folks out in the boonies.
14-hour drive for Green Apple. Are you coming, Green? Are you going to make it? Because Flady's doing it, man. He's pushing it. It'd be cool if Green Apple came. I don't know if he already bought his tickets or not. I think Dart's got one, I believe. And Ironcaster gets them. So that'll be cool. Yeah. Yeah, well, we're going to figure out a way, Martinson. He's mentioned his runs. We got to get people what they're going to run so they're there. He's thinking about flying. Sweet, Green. Let me know if you need someone to pick you up, brother. So, all right, dude.
Discord. Yeah, you're probably right. I can put I can make a Discord channel and link it in the tabletop events.
There you go.
And other places. Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah. So we'll do that. And
yes.
I will probably have the email. I will have email for all of the ticket buyers. So I will have that as a list and I will send that link out to everyone.
I'm typing in the chat.
The con needs Venger Garibay style daily report videos during the con. We talked about doing something like that. It all depends on the all depends. What I think might be a little bit better would be to have an after action video, maybe have some video taken during the cons that we can put up and just talk, and we can talk about the experience. Doing it during might be a little bit hard to pull off.
Oh, Elle's got a good one. In-car up nostril daily con reports.
These folks with their phones pointed up their noses is really annoying. No one wants to see your nose, dude.
Oh, dude. Yeah, so I just put in the chat that MBS is a great airport. You're very close. And I'll say this much. I'm pretty sure I can drive people from MBS to the con if you come at a decent time. If you're like last minute and won't show up till Friday, I may not be able to get to you, but just let me know. Flighty wants to know, do we have a roll of raffle tickets? If not, I'll order a roll. I have books to donate to give away. Yes, true.
Yeah, I don't have a raffle ticket roll.
Yes, and so is Mr. Patty's going to give us some of those Ski-Vader. I don't know that one. Mutants, I know that one. So yeah, with regards to giveaway, that would be cool.
Ski-Vader.
Yes, it is more expensive, Ryan David. It's to fly to MBS is cheaper? Wow, that's shocking. Yeah, and Martinson said he can back me up on the driving. So we'll go in Discord. Folks can, as we get closer, if they need to pick up from the airport, if we can make it early, it'll work out. Oh, Ski-Vader is his latest book. Mutants and Ski-Vader's latest book by Patty Parr.
Ski-Vader.
Ski-Vader, like privateer?
Yeah, Skeeveteer, I'm
Look
pretty
like
sure.
Yes, Skeevator's not right. There's 2 E's.
2 E's. You did one this week. I did one last week.
I really can read English. I can. So, and Dundee.
You're a math guy, not an English guy.
I don't know where Dundee is. That's probably way down south, isn't it, Iron Man?
Yeah, in Australia, Billy Dundee.
Billy Dundee. Yeah. So Martinson says no, so I'm going to say no because we're in the same neck of the woods. But after work on Wednesday, be there on Thursday. All right, Darth. Very cool, man. Can't wait. So you're starting on Thursday. I want to try to get a room too.
Yeah. Randy's Misty Ped.
Yeah. Skeevator. Skeevator. That's a great name. Sorry, Patty. Dang, dude.
At some point, we're going to be able to clip out all of the obviously mispronounced words.
Oh, dude.
Cal
needs to pick him up in Lake Tahoe. A Honey Brown. I think I have, Bruce, but I can't say for sure.
Honey Brown?
Yeah. A beer. He said Dundee is the home of the greatest beer ever, a Honey Brown. I'm not a beer dude, but it sounds vaguely familiar.
Beer.
Yeah. So hold on one second. I'm on mute.
I don't think Randy read Skeeveteer, or he probably would have said it correctly, but maybe not.
What's that? I wouldn't have said it correctly if he spelled it out for me like he did.
You would have needed to have a pronunciation guide.
He did a Hooked on Phonics for me. Look at this.
So he's asking if you read it yet.
I have not. I need to get on that. So.
Ski Vader. That's awesome.
Darth Vader's brother, Ski Vader.
Take out the E, make a monster.
Skeeved
1 E. And it's going to be called a Ski Vader. Just make a monster called a Ski Vader.
The dreaded Ski
Weirdo.
The dreaded Ski Vader.
And we need to have a Misty Ped monster. That's what we're going to do. Every time we mispronounce a word like this,
it becomes a monster.
It becomes a monster.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm writing them down. Ski Vader and Misty Ped. It's like a biped, but it's a Misty Ped monster. That sounds good. The monster, the mispronounced monster guide. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we'll do is, if we can collect enough, we'll make something. Maybe. We don't have a good track record with making anything.
We don't. We talk a lot. I got an adventure. I really have one. If David Gwill was on here, he would confirm there is an adventure, but it is yet to be produced. So
pork steaks
in Discord for big.
Are you teasing me with pork? Hold on a second.
He might be. Oh, Joe's got to check it out.
He put his pork in the Discord.
That's something Bruce does every now and again. You just gotta let him go. It's not worth the fight.
You put it in the RPG chat, dude. I probably don't have a place.
L says Misty Ped sounds like an OF user. And T-shirt responded, she has great feet pics. A pint of Big Red. What? Are we talking Big Red as in like the soda? Ooh, that's good. Bruce is choosing wisely. Yeah. You got Big Red down your neck of the woods, Bruce? The drink of champions.
We're sharing Bruce's pork steak. It looks awful yummy.
I think San Antonio is one of the brew places of Big Red. One of the main distributors or whatever. I know I had a Big Red on Fountain in San Antonio years ago when I visited. Quality establishment. Oh,
San Antonio?
Yeah.
San Antonio's a good town.
Big Red soda is the thing. That's right on, Bruce. We got a bottler up in Bowling Green, Kentucky, too, I believe. So, looks good. Looks good.
Yeah. All right.
We are
coming up on that 2-hour mark.
We are, brother.
Anything else you want to talk about?
I do not. I hope that one day, I hope we have more to announce next week about Big Geek Con. I hope that I have an adventure to print off next week. Randy's got to
Yes.
recover. I'm tired.
We're going to be presenting badges at the con. We're not
Yes.
going to be mailing them out.
Correct.
I don't know if did Gen Con mail that stuff out?
Oh yeah, they would. They're a big opera. You can do either one. You can pick them up at the place, or you can have them mailed to you. Your choice.
Yeah, we're going to hand them to you at the door.
Yeah, here's your badge. You're a part of this awesomeness. So yeah, we'll do some more. I got some stuff to get done this week. So
we'll have a list of everybody who bought, and then a ticket, and we'll have a badge for everyone on the list. And as you show up, we'll check you off the list. And then we'll have a second part for people who buy tickets at the door, and then they'll have badges. We'll have badges for them too.
Green Apple asks, is my adventure ready to go? I'm last editing pass, but yes, I'm halfway through it, and I was halfway through it the first time Will sent it back to me. He's being kind enough to edit, so soon. Patrick says he gets his at Gen Con. It will be soon, sir. I'm thinking it's going to be like a cheap price of $3 or $4. I'm not sure. Probably $3.99 for a PDF. So I'm Big Geek Emporium. That's the plan. Print will be $4,000.
We're not going to have a big enough crowd to have to worry about how badges are handed out. It's going to be a very short line. It'll take 5 minutes to get through it.
But if we end up getting 30 people, if we get 30 people, I'm going to do backflips. So that'll be sweet. I'll be out for the rest of the
knock out a wall.
Out for the rest of the con, but that's what I'll do.
Right. Yeah. It'll be more like a fall backwards on your head thing.
Bruce is offering up another $30 ticket. He will buy it for you. He's that dude. Inflaty's running a Rift CS adventure. Right on. I don't know what I'm running yet. I'm leaning toward old school D&D of some sort. Maybe Hyperborea, since I'm on that kick now. So I may run that Late Trapper's Lament again. We'll see.
I hope there is a doctor in-house. Man. Well, Bay City has many doctors. I don't know
we have a lot.
Doctor at the hotel.
We do have a friend that is a nurse. So
I'm a near paramedic level trained medic from the Army, though I haven't done anything in that for 15 or so years.
He said for my backflip.
Maybe 20 years.
Right on, dude. I'm going to need it. Good point. I didn't think of that. I'll be dead meat.
We don't need a doctor. We will need a stop Randy from backflipping.
So like, stop that crazy redhead.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
If
there is nothing else other than shenanigans.
Shenanigans, all I have.
All right. If you'd like to support our show, please like, subscribe, and share us where you are listening or viewing the show. We're out there on the socials, on Twitter, and podcast places as well. Social media's kind of dropped off my map. I need to get back on it. But, yeah. If you'd like to support us with your cash, you can go to PayPal. You can go to Streamlabs, Ko-Fi, Patreon. Search for Big Geek, Biggest Geekus, or Big Geek Con. Well, not Big Geek Con, but Biggest Geekus in all those places, and you will find us. We'll have links in the show description once I get to it. The website that we're going to push is Big Geek Emporium, where you can find lots of cool stuff, a lot of it for free. You don't have to pay a dime. Jack the 71st, you're joining us as we are exiting. Sorry about that. Go back and put us on double speed. It will be hilarious.
Yep. Because I talk fast already.
BigGeekEmporium.com. With that said, do you have anything else before we hit the road?
Nope. I'm off to work on my backflip.
All righty. This is Joe.
And this is Randy.
And remember, if you can't be big like us, then be geeks like us.